All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the states in Nigeria. I don't know why the floor manager Eno is smiling like that, but guys, as an ambassador, there is a weight on your shoulders, and of course, the weight of compartments and influence, necessitates that you as a role model of you are a role model of character and of course integrity and what's the word now? I think reliability of the citizen, of course, at all times. Guys, I need to put my thoughts together. Again, I welcome you to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener and, of course, the chief host, Kike Atanda-Owo. And I think it's important for us to quickly hear what on this day initial segment asks for us. When I return, I give my submission on it before we go straight to the topic at hand. Up first, a message from my sponsors. Do not touch. Stay with me. I'll be right back. I thought I'm on radio. All right, many thanks for staying with me. So my submission, my message from today's on this day initial segment, as far as I'm concerned, is that in the context of modern times, this historical wedding serves as a reminder of the ongoing, interplay between traditional values and, of course, the global influences in various societies that we belong to. And, of course, as culture continues to evolve, people around the world, grapple with finding a balance between preserving their heritage and embracing the external elements of our traditions. I think that's the message on this day initial segment. I like the fact that it's a bit positive and has to do with culture, has to do with tradition, away from all the, insurgency and the likes and all of that. But guys, let's get a message from my sponsors, those that put me on this platform. When I return, the main conversation will start. A message from my sponsor. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, the Nigerian music industry is one of the most vibrant and rapidly growing music scenes in the world, and of course it's estimated that there are over 500 music producers, over 1,000 record labels, and over 50 radio stations currently operating in Nigeria. And the Nigerian music industry is one of the most vibrant and rapidly growing music scenes in the world. And the industry, generates over $2 billion in revenue per year, making it one of the largest music industries in the world. And the Nigerian music industry is at home, has created a lot of buzz. I would say the most successful, iconic and influential artists that we have in Nigeria today when it comes to the likes of, Whiskey, Davido, Burna Boy, Tiwa Savage, Thames, many of them. And the idea of this edition is to, examine the actions and the behavior of Nigerian artists and what influences them, what brings them to the youth, as well as the brand that they represent, the image that the image of Nigerians or Nigerian music in the industry that they tend to, present globally. So my guest today is a Nigerian talent manager and a music executive, a songwriter. What else again? I think a live events manager, co-founder of Hypertech Digital 960 Music Group, and the founder of Blue Wild Media Network. I'm sure that when he comes on set, he will correct me on the proper pronunciation of his label. But before now, I think it's important for us to see the profile of my guest. And when I come back, you'll be seeing him. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. Let me use this opportunity to quickly usher in my guest, Mr. Ife Omorogbe. Did I pronounce that properly? Oh my God! Many thanks for being in the studio with me. And earlier I was trying to pronounce your organization. I know you are the founder of Hypertech Digital 960 Music Group, and also the what?
Buckwild Media.
Buckwild Media.
Yeah.
Okay, but the pronunciation of the wild is W-Y-L-D.
Yes.
Yeah.
Buckwild. Buckwild is a slang for disruptive, for crazy.
For crazy.
Yes.
And in that industry, there's a lot of craziness happening there. Let me say that for lack of a better word right now.
Oh, yeah,
when it comes to all the issues going on right now. But
it's in our DNA.
Is it your DNA? Okay. We will get to that DNA after a while, maybe in the second segment of the show. But right now, let's look at the corporate angle of it, the professional angle of it, because in the music industry today, you don't need any introduction, and that's the honest truth, especially when it comes to all your accomplishments, being a founder of the CEO of Now Music,
yeah.
and also the co-founder of Hypertech that I mentioned earlier, and one of the, will I say, Nigeria's most successful music outfit, because from the research that I made, I saw that, you've done so well for yourself, and I say, well done. But how would you describe, or analyze the evolution of the music industry over the years with the introduction of technology? Because I think it's important for me to infuse that. How would you describe it?
It's been amazing. If anyone participated in the process of making and pushing music 25 years ago, and the person went somewhere and got locked up, in a cocoon, and got released last year or a couple of months ago, it would be difficult to even comprehend how much things have changed. Technology has helped to unlock a lot of things, and they've thrown up a lot of opportunities. If I were to sit down and break down the process of recording music 20 years, 25 years ago, you'd be totally amazed as to how much transformation has happened. It's been great. It's been amazing. Even when I refer to crazy, it's not just crazy on the talent performance and even on the business end of it, even on the corporate end of it.
Well.
Yes, there's been you actually needed to have a little bit of craziness to even get into the space a few years ago. Once you woke up in the morning and you told your folks that you wanted to be in the music business in Nigeria, circa late 80s, early 90s. If they're evangelicals, they probably would go and fast and pray, just like to figure out, some kind of intervention,
yes.
For like, is this guy okay? Is this lady? I mean, of all the options, you have
could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, name it.
You have university education and you want to work where in the music industry. What is that even? Even for the artists it was easier because you could reference a lot of our parents had successful artists that they admired and they knew. If you were a parent in the 80s or 90s, you probably were a fan of the likes of King Sunny Ade,
Bob Marley.
Fela, Bob Marley. I'm talking about even Nigerians, right?
Well, Bob Marley cut across.
Issa Victor Waifo, you probably would have admired Oliver De Coque and all of those guys.
Yeah.
And if your child said they wanted to be a musician, you might not be too excited, but you can.
It's relatable to
you can relate to that,
exactly.
yes. But when the person says, I want to be a talent manager, I want to be an A&R, I want to be, I want to work in media and publicity, I want to.
What's that? What do you do there? All right, away from that, because, and I like the fact that you touched on that and actually tweaking it to the fact that technology have further enhanced the music industry. However, many managers these days, it takes a toll on most of you guys when you wake up and you just see somebody just saying that I'm now a musician or I'm here to manage somebody in the music industry. Anybody can just rise up and call himself a manager of an artist without understanding the nitty-gritty of the business, So for someone like you who have been in this industry for a while, I believe that you understand the legal aspect of you, the skills, the art, the technical media, the PR aspect of managing an artist, and what it entails aside just what people see, So how is the industry checkmating all of that today when it comes to how, I don't want to use a certain word right now, that it has watered down most of you guys' work?
I think the process is very organic. 2 decades ago, you didn't have serious investment in the music business. You didn't have serious professionals. Guys like us at Now Music were the very few people who were dedicated professionals working in the space. And what I mean by that is that was my primary gig. I woke up in the morning and I resumed at Now Music, and I had a retinue of staff and all of that, and we worked till late on a daily basis, right? Most of the guys in the space were people who were driven by passion. Some they love the game so much and they have some money to spare, so they set up labels that were like trophy investments, right? So a guy would be like a medical doctor or a broadcaster or something else by day. Maybe he works in oil and gas by day, and then on the side he just finances a label because he has a cousin or a younger one who wants to make forays into music, and is just supporting them with a structure. But these days you have people who are full-time professionals. They're straight out of some of the best universities in the world, and they're coming straight into the music industry. So it is a different dynamic, right? We didn't have that then. And those were the years when once an artist kind of like was breaking through, if you looked around them, what you're likely going to find was either a friend or a cousin or your younger brother or your sister's boyfriend or it was that kind of loose paddy type arrangement, right? But with more investment, with better structured businesses, with people seeing the potential and watching the industry grow, there's a lot more seriousness. So if you take a closer look at the industry today, at the top, at the higher levels, you find talents that have an entire structure, to ride on. When I say entire structure, I'm talking about talents who are, first of all, the artists, but they're also entrepreneurs because like they co-own their independent labels, and they have deals with like international, multinational labels. Some of the biggest labels are here. They're working with local talents, right? With Nigerian talents. Whether you're Sony, you're Universal, your Atlantic Records, you know, all of these guys, Empire, they have presence on the ground, right? And the talent has, so they have the labels, the affiliate labels, they have legal, they have accounting, they have media and publicity, they have branding, they have, you know, an entire network. I'm not even talking about the musicians, the dancers, the choreographers, and the creative team. I'm talking about the marketing, branding, A&R, you know, and all of that stuff that you need. So if you're still in the game and you do not have the right quality of personnel working in either within or around your team, what I mean within is either they're like tied to your immediate team or they're consultants that you can, you say for example,
like contract
PR, yes. Yeah. So you have a PR firm, you have a PR practitioner who is in demand, and not even just within the artist community. You have PR firms that are in demand within the corporate space. You know, someone that or a company that the top brands are seeking their services for PR. So if I were an artist, for example, and I share the same PR company with Silverbird, you know, group, then you could start seeing the quality of representation, you know, that I'll have as far as PR is concerned, and branding and marketing and, you know, brand extensions and all of that stuff. Yeah. So it's changing. It could have changed. We would have preferred it if it had changed a little earlier and a bit faster. But it's organic and it's solid.
All right, so talking about organic, because you've mentioned a few things, especially when it comes to structure and talking about seriousness, because the legal framework of the music industry today, when you're looking at it from its infant stage, I feel that there's still a lot of struggle when it comes to the work of the arts, you know, their royalties, you know, the artists themselves trying to manage the image, you know, that their PR or their companies are trying to portray them as, and of course the business aspect of it, which is the structure when it comes to production and so many other things that entails with an artist. You know, where have we gotten to with all that you've shared thus far, especially when it comes to your experience regarding the development of the legal framework of supporting the music industry and especially the artists themselves?
The legal framework needs work. It needs a lot of work. For some reason, the legal process in Nigeria has not responded as quickly, you know, as speedily as one would have expected. So I'm not a lawyer, but the much I understand is that you have to have legal precedents for things to be sorted out, right? So, for example, if this were 5 years ago and there was a lawsuit between, say, a Kiss Daniel and G Worldwide, for example, just like an example, the outcome of such cases would help to set a legal precedence, right? And there'll be cases, you know, in court way before then. Now, I do not know what the state of that stuff is, but I'm just citing a general example. But it's not hard, it's not impossible to find that some of the lawsuits that were initiated 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we've not made much progress in terms of the actual.
So would you say that the much progress is the fact that there's a churn out of arts and stars these days that, you know, maybe I should be asking, why is it that the span of this relevance of these artists, you know, does not go beyond or more than 5 years? And the reason why I'm asking
that's
that
also
is because,
questionable.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking that because only a few of them have actually exceeded this threshold that I've mentioned. So many examples that I wish I can point fingers at right now.
We can be specific. My first encounter with Tiwa Savage was in the year 2010 or 2012.
Okay.
At Bokwad and Breathless, Bokwad Media event, right? She performed the national anthem at the opening of the show. That is easily 10, 12, 13 years ago. And she's 300 times stronger today than she was back then, right? Davido, Burna, I met Burna by proxy almost 14 years ago when he started his journey. He's still there. Some of the top guys that are trending today, their history is at least 7 to 10 years thick, first and foremost. A lot of the guys.
But there are a few of them like Chidinma, like.
So what I'm saying is that a lot of these artists fall off everywhere. Artists, the shelf life of talents can be long, can be short, depending on a lot of variables. What I'm just saying in the Nigerian music industry, the shelf life is extending, it's growing wider and wider. And why do I think it's growing wider? Is because the business is growing. As opposed to an artist sitting somewhere years past and just trying to find out for himself what the audience wants to know, what kind of songs the audience wants to listen to. You have an A&R team today who are on the streets. They know the sound of tomorrow. They know the sound of today. You have people, as opposed to back in the day when they record in studios, a lot of recordings that are done in production camps, where you have 4, 5, 6, 10 writers. Until 6 years ago, it was a big deal for a Nigerian artist, for you to find out that a Nigerian artist scored a hit record that he didn't write. But you don't need to actually write your songs. A lot of the big hits of the biggest artists are songs that are written by other people or even co-written by the artist, right? And those are some of the things that truncated, the shelf lives of talents 10, 15 years ago. Because you get to a point where you lose touch, you do not have the right budget to keep the stuff. You don't have the right material. You're not working with the right teams, right? Because you're looking at everything from your perspective as just an artist. But if you ran Sony Music and you put $2 million on an artist, and the artist records songs that are not banging, you're not going to release them. Right?
Right.
You're going to send it back to the studio. It's going to do a bunch more. So you're going to bring more writers, more producers until you find the right sound. So it is that structure that stretches the shelf life of an artist.
Okay, all right. I hear you. Before we go on a quick break, I need to ask you this because I read recently from my background research before coming into the studio, and I would like to quote Plus Nigeria that said that due to lack of adequate documentation, decades of music consumption, and its attendance components is the reason why most of these artists actually get lost, so to speak, But little is known about, the number of albums that they even sell or that have been sold by these great Nigerian artists. Because sometimes when you go online and listen to some music, you never know that was the person that sang it until something ill happens to the person. That you now say, oh, is that the song I've been listening to and all of that? And this is barely, if you ask me, I think it's also part of the issue when it comes to data in terms of the quality of how to reach them and how to actually collate most of their work and the success stories of these artists. So we complain of royalties. We've seen a lot of issues that have come up in recent times that have been due to recognition of these artists over the globe and the likes and all of that. What can be done to this issue of royalty? I don't want to touch on Mohbad right now, which I know that we are still struggling with his own, who is collecting royalty on his music and the likes and all of that. Quickly, if you can touch on this in 2 minutes before we go on a quick break.
So people are very emotional when it comes to the issue of music. But music is not really, music is emotional. Music business is not emotional. It's very scientific, right? There was a dislocation in the process in the history of Nigeria. And during the period of the lull, we had all those type of issues of documentation, data, and all that stuff. There was a whole generation of artists who made music and they didn't have split sheets. There was no clear definition of, who owns what. We grew a whole generation of...
Maybe because they are novice at the beginning?
Yes, there were proper business structures. There were proper labels, right? If you were recording, for example, under Sony, Premier Music, EMI back in the day, I'm sure if your child were to go to the office today, you would find a catalog, you'll find records of all your materials because it's a proper company, right? They have staff, they have legal, they have people, they have, documentation, and they're there and they license the music and all the history. Yeah, administration is ongoing for 50, 60 years, right? That's Premier Music for you. But if you run, as I said, a trophy investment type record label where you're a banker and you love music and you sponsor an artist, and the artist, road manager is a cousin, the artist manager is their mother's boyfriend, the whatever, and all that kind of stuff, right? It's very likely that you won't have that process and procedure and paperwork and, you know, and all of that stuff. So when you do not have, when it's not a proper setup.
Documentation.
Yes, when it's not a proper setup, a lot of things, you know, fall within the cracks. But when it's a proper setup, the minute a Wizkid gets working with Sony, you can't put out a Wizkid. If Wizkid features on your record, you cannot release it without clearance. If they put, if Wizkid coughs on your record today and you try to put it even on YouTube, they will yank it down, because Sony has to clear. And the clearance is where you do all the metadata, where you do the splits, where all the processes are perfected. Yes. But 15 years ago, two guys would hang out one evening, end up in the club, from the club, go to the studio, record a song. The next day, the song is out. But you know, nobody. Yeah.
All right, we'll go on a quick break, and when I return, the conversation will continue. Stay with me. I'll be right back. This is Real Talk with Kike. All right, glad to know you're still right there with us. In case you just joined in, today's conversation is about the Nigerian music industry, its general assessment, you know, when it comes to growth, you know, management of artists and the role of the stakeholders, you know, in the industry. And I have the privilege of, you know, being with one of the Nigerian best managers and music business boss, Omorogbe. You know, guys, he is the founder and the CEO of Now Music. And I will be going into the next segment to discuss the image, the reputation of some of these artists and the impact that they've had on the society, especially when it comes to youth in particular. And of course, I'll still be touching on the royalty aspect, because I believe that you need to throw more light on that, because those are the issues that most of these artists, you know, go through. And can you elaborate a little further on the royalties of these artists? And also, let's say in particular, when maybe any of these artists passes on, is there the next of kin or the children or somebody that can actually be, you know, enjoying the benefit of the royalty? Can you further throw light on that?
So the two large groups of talents are talents who work as independent artists and the talents that are signed to labels.
Apologies, I have to interrupt your line of thoughts. I told you that I'm still in the holiday mode. You know, guys, manage meeting. I get a full grip of myself. Let me use this opportunity to open the phone lines. Remember that you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number 080-988-77400. It's showing on your screen right now. And of course, you know, we're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, both on Real Talk with Kike platform and Silverbird platform. Many thanks again for, you know, trying to manage me till I get my full grip of my show. Thank you. Yeah, you can go ahead, please.
Yes, so as I was saying, the talents who work as independent artists, and a lot of them, they control their licensing themselves in terms of the digital sales and the streaming and all those numbers, right? They're reported directly to them, and usually they're paid to them. So if you're an artist and you are independent, you're going to likely be the one in charge of your revenues from you know, sales and streaming. Even if there's cases where there's sync licensing, they would have to seek you out and pay you directly. If you're with a label, then the label stands in that gap, and you usually would have a contract with the label that states clearly, for every ₦1 that is earned, you know, what you get and what the label keeps, right? And if in the event something happens to the talent, then of course there's the next of kin or whoever that is, you know, has, you know, supposed to be paid whatever sum. All of this is on paper. Now there's no you cannot ascertain clearly that every record label dealt honestly with every talent and vice versa. It's the music business is real life. The way you find dysfunctional businesses and dysfunctional relationships in real life, that's basically what you have in business. Unfortunately for us, the disagreements that you could have in a studio here within a producer, you know, and a camera person, if we have that kind of disagreements, you know, in the music industry at a club or a studio, it will be a subject of, you know, public consumption, and everybody will blow it out of proportion. You know, however, there are processes. If you have legal representation when you sign your contracts, most of these things will be taken care of. So artists need to protect themselves. They need to get legal representation. I hear a lot of times people go on social media and they rant. And they say all kinds of stuff. Somebody ripped me. Somebody took my stuff. Somebody... I do not know why that's the social media conversation. Because if I license a song to your company to distribute on my behalf, there has to be some kind of understanding as to the splits, the revenue splits.
All right, I have to interrupt your line of thoughts. Apologies for keeping Timothy waiting. Timothy, many thanks for calling. What's your contribution on the topic at hand? Can you hear me, Timothy? All right, apologies, I have to let that go. You know, with what you're sharing right now, when you say that it's just the regular things that happens behind cameras when it comes to artists and their PR or the managers that are representing them and all of that. Sometimes I find it different because most of the time we are quick to want to copy all these international artists and all of that, where there's a proper structure. Why is it that we have issues actually to put structure in place? That's the first question to you, because I really want to quickly touch on something, because I believe that the likes of Tiwa, the likes of Muyolawao, BNXY, I think Oxlade or something like that, you know, these people are Portable, you know, they have been linked with sex tape, you know, pardon my word right now, especially when it comes to the scandal that comes with the sex tape in the last 1 year or two. And I'm looking at the impact, you know, of this immorality, if that's what to use right now, especially when it comes to the Nigerian youth. Is there a way, you know, that you think that we can address this because of the imprint it has on the youth, especially the youth of today who believe that, you know, all these artists are their role models, they want to dress like them, they want to behave like them. How can we curb all of this immorality?
So the celebrities, whether they're music artists or actors or whoever, the celebrities, they owe society a degree of responsibility because they're influential, because they're influencers. It's instructive that they realize that. And as difficult as it is to always try to do the right thing, but it's important that they understand the influence and the power that they have and do their best to leave positive examples, right, for younger people to emulate. However, they're humans, and the percentage, you just mentioned a few names. I do not think that all of that put together constitutes 0.001%.
But do you know the kind of influence
I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm going somewhere, right? So as a young person, you also have a responsibility to yourself to identify who you want to adopt as a role model and who you shouldn't, right? So if by omission or commission, a few celebrities have been caught up in situations where maybe fortunately or unfortunately.
Again, I might have to interrupt your line of thought.
Yes.
We have Henry from Abuja. Henry, many thanks for calling on Real Talk with Kike today. Please speak louder and make sure that the volume of your TV set is reduced. What's your contribution on the topic at hand?
Hello?
Hello, Henry, are you there? I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Make your thoughts count. Go ahead.
What do you say?
Go ahead. I can hear you loud and clear.
What do you say?
I'm sorry, I have to let that go. You know, with what you were sharing earlier, because as far as I'm concerned, I just feel that, you know, there are a lot of immorality coming from that end. But putting that aside, because of time, I'm trying to manage time, because I have the likes of Moses, you know, who is my technical director, that will start running commentary in my ears. It's a new year. I don't want to fight them yet. So we saw the outcome of the likes of Imole and his music label and who managed him, and very terrible outcome that many of them have actually found themselves. And I can give you examples, because as far as I'm concerned, in your own experience as a music, you know, executive and artist manager, how have you seen, you know, most of these things on social media play out, especially when it comes to the dynamics of how it affects relationship between artists and their peers?
We have a lot of work to do.
Okay.
But what I advocate is better structures.
Okay.
And I also advocate that stakeholders should be a lot more involved in the processes. we have some industry
When you
institutions.
say stakeholders, for those who are listening to us that might not understand.
Artists, first and foremost,
Okay.
they are managers, they're representatives, the record labels. They're industry organizations. You have PMAN, for example, that's going to be responsible for the welfare of artists, right? The music artist managers, they have their own organization. A lot of these organizations exist, but they're not as influential as they ought to be. And that's largely because a lot of stakeholders do not participate as actively as they should. So you tell yourself, oh, you don't like PMAN. PMAN has a not so cool history. But you don't engage to see what you can do to make it better. And when you need a PMAN, for example, to stand in the gap and protect the interest of talent, PMAN is not there. And you turn around and you say, okay, well, where was PMAN? But the question is, were you a member of PMAN? Right? Have you ever engaged in the last couple of years in your journey as a recording artist, performing artist? Have you ever sought to engage to find out how PMAN, the good things that be happening at PMAN, are you aware? Do you even care? Right? Why does the association exist in the first place? What can the association do for you as a talent? So it's very much like the problems we have in the larger society where people say, oh, we don't like this party, we don't like the political process, and they choose not to participate. But you choose to participate in the elections or not, there are going to be elections, and there are going to be governors, and there are going to be presidents, and there are going to be House of legislators, and each of those sets of people would have constitutional authority to determine what your life will look like. So I think we all have a responsibility. We have a lot of work to do as an industry, and it goes beyond music. A lot of talents talk down the Actors Guild. A lot of directors talk down the Directors Guild. I think these institutions are very important. While the people who currently hold the office have a responsibility to make it as functional as possible, the stakeholders must key in and they must participate in those processes. A lot of the industry-wide issues cannot be dealt with at an individual level. I can deal with my business issues alone, right? I can structure a strategy for the release of my artist and push and all of that. But once I'm confronted with industry-wide issues like piracy, I'm confronted with industry-wide issues like the failure of collective management, royalties and all of that stuff, I would need to turn to either the CMO or turn to the NCC, because these are not things that you on your own as an individual or a company can resolve or fix. So I've always advocated that we devote a lot of time to our businesses, but we also open up time to engage with industry-wide conversations and take affirmative actions to ensure that the structures that we have are strong, are vibrant, and they serve the purpose of the stakeholders.
All right, still talking about serving the purpose of stakeholders, because I feel that these artists too, they are part of the stakeholders, and we have seen how technology, when I asked you the question at the beginning, how it has evolved over the years. And in fact, I can say everybody is a music artist, everybody is a journalist once you have an Android phone in your hand. But this online harassment is something I want to touch on because it's becoming more relevant for us to touch on it, or for me to talk about it. I would like you to actually throw more light on it, especially when it comes to how we can guide our clients, in terms of navigating and responding to negative interaction on social media, to protect their own personal and professional well-being. Because I feel that, today, especially in the world that we live in, we are not big on therapy. We believe that therapy is not for us and the likes and all of that. But how can they safeguard their well-being and their sanity with the use of this technology on social media that is beginning to affect a lot of people and they are being driven to depression?
You were spot on when you said we're not big on therapy. But I asked myself, why is it that an average celebrity is more inclined to spending
billions of money on their outfits,
on designer glasses,
on gold? I discuss this with my husband regularly.
On designer glasses,
and they can't go for checkup,
right? Than to engage a therapist. The world is fast changing. I think the role of qualified therapists is increasingly, important in the current state, of the industry. We need a lot more qualified people who can help talents, even not just the talents, there are other stakeholders in the industry who are dealing with all kinds of, issues, all kinds of emotional issues, right? The world is changing, the industry is changing. I was having a conversation with a friend 2 days ago, and I was saying, I was trying to break down the way brands die, the process with which people fall off, right? I have someone who was, let's say you were 5 years ago, you were a brand manager for a company that spends heavy on music, and if you're in that position, what you would have found out was that 70% of the trending artists in the industry, they would have your number, they will know your birthday. They probably know your wife or your husband's birthday. They will call, Sometimes it's a child's birthday and 4, 5, 6 artists will just come through, just stop by to say hi. Because you were a major influencer 5, 6 years ago. Today, even B-list artists, they're touring globally. The template is that the fame that they have can be, their careers can be fed without them needing to be subservient or to be connected or to be friendly with a brand manager or an agency guy. So the brand manager, the agency guy who was a demigod 6, 7 years ago, a lot of the guys that are trending now do not even know you. You can't even call them. If you call them, they won't pick up.
But don't you think it boils down to character? Because that's how I look at it. We live in a world where it's an opportunistic world, so to speak. And I really don't like the fact that we cannot be humane enough that even on birthdays or during period where you need to celebrate, so to speak, your brand manager, you cannot do that because you feel that you're big. Or
so I get what you're saying, but again, you use the word, like you're opportunistic, right? So while 6 years ago, this person was the person of influence, and the talent looked to suck up to that person for performance opportunities, right? Today, that person is not so influential anymore. And human beings being what they are, not just artists now, even the management people and all of that, a lot of them would turn their focus onto the next goal, the next power player, the next influential person. And that next influential person might be a booking agent in the UK. It might be someone who runs, a company and, a streaming platform based in Netherlands. That's the person is chatting with now and saying, how are you doing? How was yesterday? I saw the post on Instagram and all of that. So it's a kind of a movement that has a lot of positivities, but also creates a lot of problems, right, for us. So people are dealing with watching themselves slide to irrelevance in the most depressing way. They're not talents, but imagine if you were someone your friends would call a few years back to say, it's my husband's birthday, could you call somebody like this to say hello? And today, there's no single one artist you can actually call.
Because they are users. All right, moving on. Moving on to my next question, because they started running commentary in my ears. But that is for 2:47. I have 2 questions for you before we move to the last segment of the show. Because considering the seriousness of threats, in the ongoing Tiwa Savage and Davido's situation, what measures can you advise as an experienced manager, executive manager, what do you think that needs to be brought to fore, especially when it comes to addressing such situation or issues to ensure safety of artists in the industry and also to find a work-life balance among themselves? Quickly, in 1 minute. That's the... Or let me ask you the second question so they can answer both together. My second question to you is the fact that the Ghanaians and the South Africans, have been beefing the Nigerian music industry, so to speak, in terms of our achievements, at the Grammys especially. Let me emphasize on that, because they say primarily it is because our own artists are quick to buy more playtime on radio, on TV, and the likes and all of that, or online to get more popularity with the help of social media that we've been talking about. So is it a case of buying playtime, or would you say that is investment, or would you say it's the quality of our music that is actually putting us on that global stage of Grammys?
It's a mix of everything, a little of everything. Talents
Don't forget my first question.
Yes, talents have to promote themselves. Their record labels have to push them. A lot of the push are coming from the labels, they're not coming from the artists. And a lot of the record labels are not Nigerian record labels, so we should put that out there,
Okay.
right? In terms of when I mean Nigerian record labels, they're not they're global companies. And as I said, if you were a record label and you put $2 million or $3 million advance in the hands of an artist, you're going to do your best to ensure that that artist has the best opportunities for visibility, so you can recoup on your investment, right? These are sibling rivalries, and I respect that, but people should not react the wrong way. There was a time in Nigeria it was hell for us to get our song onto our own radio stations. Things have changed, and they didn't change because we were sulking or we were I don't want to use the word, right? But there was a strategic response that changed the tide in our favor. So what I'd advise my brothers and sisters and friends, in other African countries, is to study the Nigerian model. How did we move from a point where we struggle to play our music on our own radio stations to when, we travel across the world and our music is everywhere, even places that, we don't have direct footprints. There's a method to that madness. They should study it, they should replicate it, they should adapt it to their own experiences and be as successful, as they can be. The first question about, unfortunately, over the last 3-4 days, I'm stuck with some paperwork. I do not have all the facts, but for the Tiwa Davido type situation. However, speaking generally, I think the people around them, their teams, would have to act very fast to de-escalate, these conversations. Like I said, I do not have the full details, but what I know is that I've been in places where regular stuff happens, things that have happened between myself and my sister, or a friend. But when it is reported, when it gets to the media space, it's a totally different stuff. What we just noticed happen now, by the time it starts people start reporting it, it's a whole different thing. Because these stars are huge and have a huge following of fans who are very emotional, and people don't even process stuff, people don't ask questions, and all of that. So their teams should try as hard as they can to de-escalate and fix these issues. It's not good for us. Okay. It's not good for the landscape. It's not good for the ecosystem. It's not good for the talents themselves. They're entertainers. Their job is to entertain and bring joy and smiles to the hearts of people. We can do it without a lot of this negative
all right,
drama.
Many thanks for all your elaborate submission thus far. And sometimes people say that it's because sometimes they want to release an album or something, hence the reason why they have to create unnecessary controversy. Because we can see in the last 24 hours how Tiwa Savage has actually, put it out there that she's expecting a movie that will be premiered soon. But anyways, many thanks. Let me quickly touch on the last segment of the show, which is the trending stories. We call it stories that binds us as Nigeria. And the first trending story that caught my attention is that of the Femi Otedola that gift $1 billion to Lagos State Security Trust Fund. Before I come to you to give your own submission, let me quickly say that this is a praiseworthy act. Femi Otedola has always been known as a philanthropist with, great concern for Lagos and Nigerians as a whole. But we commend him for this, and we hope to see that the money is judiciously used for security infrastructure. I must emphasize on this because I feel that the reason why he actually pledged this money is to make sure that the teeming population, which is well above 20 million in terms of residents, actually needs this good security architecture, especially when it comes to infrastructure as well. So the context of this modern times where security challenges as multifaceted to so many things such as philanthropic acts becoming vital for us to sustain such acts effectively when it comes to law enforcement and protection of citizens. And I feel that what Mr. Otedola, has done right now is patriotism set aside or set for any inspiring body who wants to do the same in terms of example for other individuals and corporate entities as well, in terms of actively participating in community development, because I look at it as an act of community development as well, and public safety. And this donation not only showcases the potential positive impact of private citizens in addressing societal issues, but also emphasizes on collaborative efforts that is needed needed to create a secure environment for all Lagosians. You know, as a Lagos girl myself, I'm a Lagosians. You know, not, you know, I'm from Atanda-Owo. My great grandpa is one buried at the roundabout of Mandela.
Oh, wow,
so
okay.
I'm a full Lagosian. Forget all the color and the paparazzi going on right now. So
okay.
you know, I have to actually put that out there. You know, I just feel that his act right now underscores, you know, the importance of public-private partnership that is lacking right now, especially when it comes to the challenges that we are facing beyond the scope of government. You know, the resources alone, I feel that government cannot just, you know, take care of that. So I also like to also use this aspect to actually, you know, touch on the presentation that is being presented by his own daughter. You know, I feel that that was a good one also. The daughter Tolani or Tedola, you know, this is a cue to take from them. You know, how wealthy people try to position their children from not just from when they are older, from the very youthful age, you know, where they can actually understand the empire and how to give back in terms of CSR and all of that. Because I feel that this is a family legacy, if you ask me, because Femi Otedola himself, because his own father, Michael Otedola, also, who was the former governor of Lagos State, let me emphasize on that, also did the same in terms of enhancing the buildings of this kind of legacies and the likes and all of that. So kudos to him, kudos to their family, you know, trying to actually be a good example, inspiring many organizations. And I feel that it's a very smart one from them. I just hope that the money is used judiciously. Quickly, in 1 minute before the so that we can have time to take our second trend in 1 minute.
I'm totally aligned with you. It's commendable, hugely commendable. And of course, the Lagos State government on its own, they've shown some kind of track record of supporting the security apparatus. My plea is to the Nigerian, you know, police hierarchy. Shoot me, but I do not believe that. So the issues with funding of the police generally.
I'm a police daughter.
Yes.
Measure your thoughts properly.
I won't measure my thoughts. I'll tell you my mind. I'll speak my mind on this platform, right?
Kidding.
Yeah. So
this is real talk.
Yeah. So the police, the issues with funding of the police, it could be better. However, I think that a lot of the funds that, you know, get into the system are not judiciously spent, and they're not judiciously spent, and they do not get to the officers and the men. Why am I saying this? You probably need to do a bit of research to dig up the kind of numbers the Nigerian police hierarchy makes from offering security services to banks and other type of institutions. These monies, if you look at the welfare, the life of the average policeman on the streets, there's no reflection of that much money coming into the system. So my challenge, my plea to them is, when public-spirited individuals make moves like this, it's incumbent on the police force to ensure that there's actual value, that the value is felt in the operations, and Lagosians actually feel the value of enhanced security. So that's my challenge to them. They have to make judicious use of this, so encourage other people to do the same.
All right, many thanks. Unfortunately, we cannot take the second trending of the show. It happened on Tuesday, but of course, it's been a great time with you. Kotsi, you are a resourceful guest. Many thanks.
Thank
many
you.
thanks for.
I'm curious. What's the top subject matter?
The second story is about Nigerians that should be allowed to carry guns. You know.
Okay, I'll come back on another day.
No, I must bring you back.
Yeah, we'll discuss that. I have, you know, a whole gamut of, you know, thoughts around, you know,
the gun issue and all of that. Yes, I just feel okay. Don't let me give my own opinion. Right? let me put it down. All right, many thanks for being on the show today. It's been an interesting time with you, and many thanks for showing light a lot of things that have been challenging to quite a number of people. I wish you the very best as you continue to forge ahead in your career and of course in your personal life as well. On this note, this is where I draw the curtains of the show. Till I come your way next week, please be kind to one another, put a smile on somebody's face, and bye now.